Everyone, how are we doing today? Mary Ellen Vanauken, Susan Jennings with the Real Estate Ladies of North Atlanta. Now, today we're going to be talking about a couple things. So first, we're going to be talking about should you buy a home in 2024 or wait? So that's our little topic of the day, which is a very interesting topic because people have their own opinions, but we're going to tell you our opinions on that. We're going to talk about one of our neighborhoods in Roswell, Georgia, close to downtown called Blacksmith Row. We're going to get into that in a minute. And then we're going to talk about what we love about North Atlanta. And then we're going to talk about one of our designer tips of the day. So remember, you can follow us on social media. We have a weekly newsletter for the Alpharetta and Milton area. Let us know. Give us a shout out. And here we go. We are going to talk about Blacksmith Row, which is in downtown Roswell. It's townhomes and it's in Canton Street and Green Street. Yes, there's a Canton Street in Roswell. There's a Canton Street in Alpharetta. Let's not all get those confused. But the good thing about Roswell is it is such a really cool downtown, and it's just as popular as Alpharetta. Has a little different vibe to it, but it's really fun. So fire away about Blacksmith Row.
Well, Blacksmith Row, and this is phase 2 we're talking about, is part of the Miller Lowry developments of luxury townhomes in downtown Roswell, between, like we said, Canton Street and Green Street. Very walkable to downtown Roswell. I'm so used to talking about Alpharetta here. But anyway, the development is a unique combination of historic charm and modern sophistication and a traditional feel. It's an expansion of the original Blacksmith Row project, and this phase adds 13 more luxurious townhomes to the area, and it's a fantastic location. Again, like I said, it's vibrant, it's bustling, and these homes are priced at from $1.1 million on up.
Yeah, and what I really like about it, it's close to one of my favorite places I used to go to all the time, the Fickle Pickle, which has great sandwiches, great places. It's walkable to that, walkable to every little place downtown in Roswell. And what the difference between Roswell and Alpharetta is that downtown Roswell really has been there for a very long time, and it's just they're expanding their reach as well, and people want to be walkable to that downtown area. And the thing that I love about Blacksmith Row is I love the way the architecture are on these townhomes. And I know they had a long process of going through the city to approve what could be built, which just keeps it in the small, quaint city town, Southern charm that we really like. So there's nothing new and modern going up there. I can tell you that. It's very into what else is there. So that's what I really do like about it. Do you agree, Sue?
I agree. And my favorite restaurant right there, just to put a shout out, is for Fellows Restaurant. Fellows is right there in an older home that has been renovated, has great food. You can sit indoors, you can sit outside. Just a really sweet spot.
Yeah, and downtown Roswell, which is different than downtown Alpharetta in the aspect that all the buildings are really old and they have that Southern charm to it. So that's kind of the difference, where Alpharetta, everything was built new and it's more new and hip, where Roswell, you're getting that old Southern charm too. All right, great. So let's dig into our talk of the day, which is, should you buy a home in 2024 or should you wait?
Well, Mary Ellen, I think there's so many different variables here to consider. One would be like personal circumstances, current market conditions, and broader economic indicators, which we always run into during presidential election years. But here are some considerations for you and your family to think about if you're thinking about buying or selling a home in 2024. The first thing that you should always consider when you're making a big investment in real estate, and that is your financial stability. You need to make sure your income is stable, that you have sufficient savings for your down payment, that you have the money for your closing costs, and also an emergency fund as well, should something get delayed on your closing or you need to do something else. First of all, start out by evaluating your credit score and make sure that you can qualify for a favorable mortgage in this environment.
Yeah, and I think it's important that everybody should know what their credit score is or the range of their credit score, because that actually will make a difference in what your interest rate is. Because everyone is saying, oh, the interest rates are so high. We're not going to see that 2% anymore. It's not going to happen in anyone's lifetime right now. What we foresee is it's stabilizing in the 6 to 7%. And we don't know. We're not mind readers. We don't know what the future will bring. So I think what's really important is that right now is such a great time to purchase because there's less competition and there's, how you can get some kind of good deals right now, which you haven't been able to see in the past, I'd say 5 years. So it's really kind of cool. And not that the market's tanking or anything. It's just that I think there's an opportunity to build your wealth and build your equity right now.
Yeah, and I think it all, you need to sit down and really consider what your long-term plans are, because, owning a home is so advantageous in terms of, the wealth that you can build and the equity in that home. And with the way values have been going up, now's a great time to get in and build some wealth as well. Your personal, finances are so important. And, we always want our buyers to look at that, current rents versus the current buy analysis. And the cost of renting has really gone up. And it really, there's some great places to rent, but do you really want to be spending close to $5,000 a month for some of these when buying can be so much less expensive in your monthly cash flow? And, you also have to look at associated costs, because maybe there are HOA fees with buying, maybe there's some maintenance involved with buying, but you do get a lot of tax breaks with buying because, you really just need to talk to your CPA and make sure you're also considering what the property taxes are, what your homeowner's insurance is going to be. But generally, it's cheaper to buy than it is to rent.
It sure is. Renting has just gone crazy. Whether you're renting in an apartment, which most people don't, they want to rent a house, and they don't realize people will come from other parts of the country, and they go, "Well, I'll just rent something for 2 months." Well, that doesn't really exist here. It's like if you're renting something, you're renting for a year. Not even 6 months is really hard to find. So that's the normal here. So I think it's important to know that if you are moving to the area and you're like, well, I'm not sure, I'm going to wait till after the election or wait till next year or whatever. You don't have much time. You have a year. You're going to be stuck a year in a house or apartment.
And, I just had a conversation with somebody that said they only want to rent here a couple months of the year. Well, we can find you rentals in apartments, not homes, that, are like company-owned apartment buildings, where you could rent for 2 months or 3 months. But you have to remember, those are unfurnished for the most part. We can get them furnished for you through Court or Brooks Furniture Rental, but those rentals of furniture, spaces for your home, for these apartments, that can get very, very expensive too. And before you know it, your little, 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom is, probably $35,000 to $4,000 a month minimum just to get into something like that for 2 months or 3 months. And that's money that really could be put to better use and put towards your down payment and towards the equity in a home. And plus the wear and tear of moving frequently is really difficult for people. And the whole process of changing your address multiple times and so forth, it's a pain. You have to think about your car and changing that. And there's just so many other
driver's
variables.
license and, everything. You're having to change all that stuff. Plus, it's just the cost has gotten so expensive to move.
Mhm.
Movers have
Mhm.
become more expensive. Things have just become more expensive all the way around in the world right now.
Right.
So
Right.
it's not like you can just get even just to rent a U-Haul or whatever and rent,
Mhm.
just have to make sure
Mhm.
it can cost
Yeah.
a lot of money. So you really don't
Moving
want to move
costs.
multiple times. You just want to move
Right.
once and be stuck there, right? Or stay there
Right.
for a while.
Right. Moving costs have really gone up. I mean, it can cost you $10,000 just for a small move. And, why would you want to do that more than you would have to? Because that's just money that is going down the drain. We
Exactly.
all work
I
too
would say when
hard
you're
for
renting,
every penny.
when you're renting, you're flushing your money down the drain. But there are certain circumstances where you have to. I'm just saying it's really an ultimate decision. And I think that um, everybody needs to just take a deep breath and look at the market here, at least in our area. And
Mhm.
even though the news is talking about national news, everything's so hyper local. That's why you do need a professional to help you and guide you in the right direction, because everyone
Right.
thinks it's doom and gloom and it's not. And like I said, we can have subdivisions. One subdivision could be really, really hot and sell in 1 or 2 days, where other ones would take 30 to 60 days to sell.
Mhm.
So it's really important that you talk to someone who knows the local market if you decide you're going to purchase in 2024.
Right. And our market here in North Metro Atlanta, Georgia, is very different than the southern part of Atlanta as well. And people need to realize that it is extremely hyper local. And when you're hearing things on the national news about Texas, about the Midwest or California, or rates in the Northeast, homes in the Northeast and pricing, that's very different than it is here in North Metro Atlanta. And so it's really important that you talk to one of us because of our experience and the number of years that we've been working in this business and so forth. And we've seen a lot, let me tell you.
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah, we've been through a lot. And also,
mhm.
like, things in the Atlanta metro area, they never went up crazy like other parts of the country where they went up 30, 40, 50%. What they did is they gradually every year maintain, that 5 to 10% of equity per year on average in the past 30 years. So it's not that it goes up so much and then goes down so much. It's pretty even. So I feel like in the metro Atlanta area, it's not a bad investment to buy now, because what
No.
happens if interest rates go down? Then there's going to be more buyers in the area, right? Interest rates go down, people are like, oh, I'm going to buy now, I'm going to buy now. So that means more competition, and you're going to pay more for a property.
Mhm.
Where
Right.
if you did it now and you purchased a home in 2024, then you possibly, would be better off than if you waited. And remember, you always can refinance, right?
Right.
If you have an interest rate, so what's the next
Well,
thing we're going to
the
talk about?
I want to say one more thing about interest rates before we move on. And, one of the biggest objections that I'm hearing from people right now is, oh, I want to wait until interest rates go down. And I've looked at this historically. I have a commercial banking background. And yeah, a few years ago, we had interest rates that were in the 3 to 4%. And that was a beautiful thing. And a lot of people refinanced, and, they've got a great rate on their interest, if their mortgage, if they're currently owning a home that was refinanced during that time. But you have to think about our economy as a whole. Our economy as a whole really operates and functions from an economic standpoint much better when our interest rates are in like the 6 to 8% range. So 7% being kind of the sweet spot on that. That historically is still a very, very low rate historically. I mean, back in the early 90s, late 80s, people were paying, 13%, 15% or more for mortgage interest. And we are fortunate to live currently in a time when our rates are half that or even less. So, what I need people to understand is that we are really in a healthier spot from an economy standpoint right now with the interest rates the way they are than even when they were at the 3 to 4% range. Just think back to your simple bank accounts when rates were that low. You weren't making any money on your checking account and so forth. When we've got rates around 7%, we're actually in a healthy market. And so now's the time to buy is what I'm saying to you, and not to wait. I know, interest rates do affect your monthly affordability, your payments that you're making monthly, but these are actually attractive rates right now is what I'm saying to everybody. And, if rates do go down, which they may a little bit, the real estate market's going to go crazy again with multiple offers on properties, and you have a much harder time buying a property in that kind of market because there's so much competition, and you're spending, above asking on, you're making offers above asking on all these properties just to try to win your chance to get in the door. And when that happens, you're also compromising on inspections and due diligence and things like that really are important to making a sound decision when you're buying a home.
Yeah, I agree 100% everything you said. I mean, I think we all have to just look at this, and you have to do what's best for you. And you're not going to find the perfect house. It doesn't matter. Even if you're building a house, you're never going to make that house perfect. So I think you have to find something to build I think we have to think more on the business side of this and think about equity, think about building wealth. And I think that you really have to make that decision, and lifestyle. That's another thing that's important that you have to kind of think about in your purchasing.
Building equity is a really valuable asset that really, it's so important to have that, because home ownership also, in addition to that, offers you tax advantages, deductions on your mortgage interest. You've got property taxes to consider as well. And actually here in Georgia, our property taxes are relatively low compared to the Northeast. And, when I first moved here back in 2010, I thought I had a bargain on my property taxes, and I was living in Alpharetta and Fulton County, and Fulton County is actually a little bit higher than Forsyth County and some of these other counties, but still, compared to what I came from in the Northeast, this was a great buy. But owning a home provides you with stability like nothing else that you can ever have with any other type of an investment. And you can personalize your living space. You can make it what you want it to be. Whereas if you're in a rental, you cannot do that. There's also the upside of owning a home, and that's the potential appreciation that you gain when you do go to sell it someday.
Let's talk about if you are wanting to upgrade right now, and you're thinking about you already have a house. I mean, we were talking a lot about maybe first-time home buyers. Let's talk about the move-up buyers, like why they should be buying now, and what they should be doing there.
Right. Well, they probably have significant equity in their existing homes, first of all, that will enable them to cash out and use that cash towards the purchase of another home. And, now's a great time to do it before prices do take another, leap again, like they did a couple years ago.
And I think also, like, if you're needing the money from the house you're selling in order to buy, I think this is an amazing opportunity, because people might consider contingencies with the sale of a house, where we haven't really been able to do that for probably 4 or 5 years, right? Because of the way the market is. So a lot of people that needed the money from when they sold, they'd have to find some other arrangements. They'd have to sell their house first, then probably move in with their family until they found another house. So you can actually have a really smooth transition from buying and selling right now, if you need the money when you sell your property to upgrade to the next property you want.
Yeah. No, there's really no reason not to buy in 2024. I'm really, kind of having a hard time figuring out why somebody would really want to wait right now, because there's so much opportunity in the market right now. And because the market is a little bit slower, you are not going to feel rushed to buy. And yet we've got plenty of buyers in the North Atlanta area looking for homes, and they're just, we've always got a little bit of a crunch on inventory here in the Alpharetta, in the North Atlanta area, in the Alpharetta area. So it's really a great opportunity right now.
All right. Well, then let's go into the cons of not buying right now.
Well, it might not be the best time for you to buy if you don't have down payment money saved and put aside, if you don't have the money for closing costs set aside, or you don't have the money for moving expenses. That might be a con to not buying right now.
Absolutely. What else would be a con, you think?
Well, the whole market uncertainty. I mean, and this is something that applies to any year, not just 2024. I mean, we just never know. None of us have a crystal ball to know exactly what the market's going to do and what interest rates are going to do. So that's kind of it's always out there. It doesn't apply necessarily to this year, but it is a factor. And then another factor might be, the responsibility of maintenance and repairs with homeownership. But, they can be expensive. They can be time consuming. But the flip side of that is you can do it the way you want to. You're not, putting money into rent and just watching that money go out the door. You actually are reinvesting into the maintenance of your property.
Right.
Also, the only other thing I can think of as a con would be you have a little less flexibility by being a homeowner as opposed to a renter. Right.
You can't just, go on vacation without taking care of your house and stuff. And you might realize when you move into a house that there's a lot more expenses than you thought there would be. And you have to have an emergency fund. So you can't just jump and go away every weekend or do things. You have to kind of maybe budget your money a little bit more when you do own a house, because you have those unexpected expenses that can pop up anytime,
Right.
So those are kind of, go ahead. Sorry,
I think people have to realize too, there is an opportunity as you build equity in a home that if you do have an expense like, I've got to put a new roof on the house, you can get, a home equity line of credit to assist you with that you could pay off relatively quickly, but pay it off over several months, things like that. I think you've got to think differently and think creatively about, your investment and how you're going to protect it.
Yeah, good. I think we pretty much covered all the pros and cons of buying a house in 2024. Ultimately, it's your decision what you want to do. But we're just giving you, hey, right now, there isn't a lot of people buying and selling. So it's a good opportunity to maybe find that property, build equity, so that's just my thought.
The market's not in a frenzy right now, which is really kind of nice to be able to be a buyer or seller in a market that's not crazy, because, that just, some people just need a little more airspace, a little more time. And I think right now, gives you that opportunity to be able to step back and really evaluate what you're doing and think about it.
Great. So we talked about pros and cons buying a house in 2024. Let us know if you have any questions. We're here to give you updated of what's going on in your local market and everything else. So our next section that we talk about segment is what we love about North Atlanta. So today we're going to talk about Brook Street Park and the Homes by Dark at Brook. Can't even say it.
Home by Dark. It's a concert series at Brook Street.
So, so let's talk about Brooks Park. You know what? I just came back.
Park.
Right. I just came back from Brooks Falls in Alaska, which is amazing. So I have that on my brain with all these bears jumping around and stuff. Sorry, a little sidetracked. So I can't talk correctly, but anyway, that's amazing too.
If we have bears wandering through downtown Alpharetta at Brook Street Park, we've got a problem.
Yeah, so there might be some little bears running around, who knows. But anyway, so Sue, tell us a little bit about the activities they have there and where it's located.
Well, first let's start about where it's located, because hearing the term Brook Street Park can confuse some people, because Brook Street Park is actually located at like Academy and Haynesbridge in downtown Alpharetta, right behind City Hall. So if you know where City Hall is in downtown Alpharetta, there's a beautiful park that has a beautiful little stream with a waterfall and everything running through it. And there's
No
often
way.
on,
No way. People don't.
yes, it's
Like in
gorgeous.
downtown Alpharetta, there's a waterfall.
There is. And there's
Awesome.
even like a little bandstand there with like a gazebo. It's darling, and it's landscaped so pretty. And it's walkable from everything. There's parking garages nearby with nice brick sidewalks to get there. It's close to the library, everything else. And so in the evenings these are Saturday evenings, from April till September of 2024, bring a blanket, bring a picnic basket, and enjoy a free, live, family-oriented performance by different Alpharetta-based entertainers and groups. And it's free admission. What else, could be more enjoyable than sitting there and under the stars and just relaxing and listening to music?
As long as the
So
weather's not hot as heck, right?
this is in the evening, so hopefully it's cooler.
I know, but I mean, we're in the heat of the summer, so sometimes it's nice to do other things, and when it's really really hot, but then when it kind of cools down, it's probably amazing weather to just sit there and kind of hang out.
Right. And the other thing I like to do in Brook Street Park is they often have local artists that will do displays, like on Saturdays when farmers market is also going on the other side of City Hall. You can walk over to Brook Street Park, take a little respite from the hustle and bustle of farmers market, and walk through the displays of local artisans. They've got jewelry, they've got paintings, they've got, handcrafted items, and you can just Brook Street has this cute little meandering walkway through it that has these little kiosks set up sometimes from these local artists. And there's some really neat sculptures in this park. They also have beautiful floral plantings in these, beautiful urns and so forth that are there. And it's a little bit of an arboretum too. It's got a lot of trees, and a lot of the trees are labeled as to what they are. So it's really a hidden gem. And it's right out in the open. It's like a hidden gem in the open. So
I know, it's so close to downtown. Who would have thought? You kind of in the North Georgia mountains, right in downtown Alpharetta. And I think it's really good to shop local and support local artists and things like that. So that's kind of fun. So thank you for that bit of what we really love about North Atlanta, that there's a little waterfall in downtown Alpharetta. But no, I mean, I know about it, but I'm just saying we're telling you some little gems in Alpharetta. So anyway, we're going to go and segue into our next, calling the design tip of the day. And what are we going to talk about today, Sue, with our design?
Well, I have 3 little tips today, actually. They're very short ones, but the first one I want to talk about is minimalism. That's, we've talked a lot about organization during our podcast, but this goes along with removing clutter and keeping only your essentials on tables and shelves, to keep things tidy, to keep things organized, to elevate the aesthetics of a space, and to contribute to your mental well-being as well.
Yeah, good. Yeah, minimize. We all need to minimize, especially if you're listing or whatever. Yeah, but I think that people they just need to minimize, because the bigger houses they have, the more stuff they have. I mean, we experience it all the time when we go into a house and we're like, can we box up half this stuff? So and people like to minimize. They don't want a lot of stuff anymore. So I like that. People are living on experiences, which I love. I love experiences and stuff. So
And I think one of the things that contributes to your well-being and just to your home in general is to have some nice quality plants around. They help keep things tranquil. They make the space inviting. And decorating with plants is a low budget and high impact thing.
Yeah, and it's really nice to have plants inside your house, and of course outside. I'm a huge gardener. I love flowers, and I always have flowers in my house and plants and orchids and all kinds of things. So it's kind of nice, and you can have your own your own style when it comes to what kind of plants you have inside the house. So I agree with that a lot, and it's easy and it's kind of fun to decorate with some plants.
They don't all have to be real either, by the way. There, there are places like Home Goods and all that have some
Okay,
great
so I'm not gonna touch
plants.
that. I am a big advocate of real. So I because I have a no real. But yes, if you do like, I don't know, how would you say that? Like fake? They're
Well,
not fake. They're
Mariella,
like
you have more of a green thumb than most people.
I don't know, because sometimes you feel like you have to water the plants every, just like every week,
Right.
like everything else, right?
Right.
But yeah, having some artificial flowers and stuff around the house, well, is also good too.
Right.
And they probably make them now that they look so real that you think that
They
it's
do.
real. It's not. So
Yeah, and you know what? They're not inexpensive. They're actually it's cheaper to buy a real plant than it is to buy an artificial.
There you go.
So
There you go.
I'm a big fan of Pike. My shout out to Pike. I love Pike.
Yeah. Okay.
And my last tip of the day is repetition. So if you have something that you like, you can repeat elements of it in terms of the color or the shape or the fabric or the material, whether it's a metal, things like that, or something that has a pattern in your space to make your space feel more comfortable to you and inviting to your friends and family.
So give us an example of that. So say you have
Some of that, I like to do that through pillows because I'm a big fan of textiles. And so what I like to do is maybe take 3 different prints in the same colorway. And we talked about color in a previous podcast, but you can change I like to make pillows, and I will change the shape or the size or the print slightly from pillow to pillow. And so they all coordinate on my sofa and give a very harmonious upscale feel to the sofa. But, are just, I'm basically repeating the same feel over and over, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So I might use,
especially if you have like an open floor plan and you have like your kitchen and your family room and stuff, like kind of bringing the colors that are in the kitchen into the family room and just kind of doing things like that, whether it's pillows or different.
Even your placemats on your table.
I was going to say that placemats was my next word out of my mouth, Sue. Placemats. So you have some really cool placemats in the kitchen, and then you also put them on your little coffee table in your family room, and then your end tables and that kind of stuff.
Right. It gives a very harmonious look to your home and makes it just look that much more soothing and aesthetically pleasing.
Yes, great. Well, thanks for those great tips of design. So thank you for listening to our podcast. We had some great information today. Should you buy a house in 2024? Your answer should be yes.
Absolutely.
And we talked about Blacksmith Row in Roswell, a new construction area that's really cool down there. We talked about a really cool park called Brooks in downtown Alpharetta. And then we had our design tips. So we had a great day today. Thanks, Sue, for all your information. And remember, you can follow us on our socials. You can go on our website at www.northatlantaluxury.com. Follow us and give us your tips too as well. Have a great day.
Thank you.